Solid. All right, let me share my screen with everyone. Christian made it. Nice. Okay, I'm going to preface this call by saying if there's some deep shit in here, okay? So if you never experienced one of these calls, or if you've never had me kind of shift any mindset blocks that you've had in the past, this may or may not be for you. So if you're not ready to hear real shit or dig into yourself a little bit, because this is about identity, then you can watch the recording later. It's up to you. Because we've also obviously had recordings of detachment and winner's mindset and stuff like that to make sure that you're prepared for this. So I ran it by Ash to make sure that it looked good. So there's going to be a big piece of homework at the end and we'll get into it. So yeah, there's going to be some journal prompts the same way that Ash kind of had. So let me share my screen. So we're talking about identity, losing yourself to find yourself. Hope you guys have fun with this one. Take some notes, take screenshots, whatever you need, okay? So let's get into it. You're in replay. Does it feel like you're in some sort of program that's replaying over and over again? You are your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, because now there is attachment. You want to watch the detachment call to those thoughts and beliefs and systems. Thoughts, emotions, belief, and action, this is all energy, right? From a scientific point of view, science says our brain takes up about 20% of all energetic resources, aka calories. We as humans are tied to a higher source. I'm trying to make like a flow here, I guess. So kind of follow along if you can. So we as humans are tied to a higher source, whatever you want to believe in, but let's use the universe for now, okay? So energetic match. Follow along now. These thoughts, emotions, beliefs, actions are an energetic signature. The universe source is inherently abundant, meaning it gives you more of what you are. So meaning the universe doesn't label energy as good or bad. It is just, it just is. So energy just is the way it is. There's no labels. So if you're constantly thinking about scarcity, losing money, losing people, being alone, not accomplishing your goals, feeling a victim of your situation, whatever it is, guess what? That's a signal you're sending out into the universe, right? All these things happen to me. Oh, this is just the way it is. Oh, I've always just been this way. Okay, you can be like that for the rest of your life then. So the universe will always provide generously because it is abundant, right? It is inherently abundant. You're going to get more of what you already are, that which you are an energetic match for. So lack, scarcity, self-decaying thoughts. The universe says, I'll provide an abundance of scarcity for you. Here you go. Have fun. So cycles. Your energetic signature is one of your identities. Just one. There's several, right? Identities are layers. If you have a habit of joining a program and not executing, listening to motivational videos, starting something and stopping after a couple of weeks, asking for advice and going back to old habits or whatever it is, this is your subconscious energetic signature, your identity, which is pulling you back into old cycles, old identities, correct? So your body starts to crave those highs and lows of those low frequency emotions, the scarcity, the lacking, the anxiety, right? Those energetic signatures that you put out into the universe, your body is going to start to crave it. It's like an addiction. It's like dopamine. You get addicted to the negative emotions, even though they make you feel horrible. Years of anxiety, scarcity, self-decaying thoughts, your body will create a tolerance to it, like stimulants, right? Like coffee, for example. And then when you come off of it, or you enter a program like this, or you become more aware of the things that you are, and you try and step away from it, you get withdrawals. And withdrawals are hard as fuck. So even though you consciously want to break free, your body will keep score. There's a book called Your Body Keeps a Score. You should read it. And your subconsciously will subconsciously bring you back to old identities. You're safe. Not really. Psych. So safe is just a pretty word for familiar, at least to your subconscious. Okay. Safe applies to stress, safe applies to habits, and we'll get into this, but safe is just familiar. Since your body is trying to bring you back to old habits, like we said, your old thoughts, your old beliefs, it is trying to protect you. Quotation marks, right? Trying to protect you. Your body and your mind think that you're being attacked because change is scary. No one wants to change. Your subconscious says, what the fuck are you trying to do? You're trying to become a new person? The fuck? Come back. Let's get comfortable again. And it's not going to be immediately, right? You're going to see it trickle in over time. It's not like you try and step out and you go back to old habits. Some people are like that. I've seen it, trust me. But the more you might try and make change, the harder it gets. Not the harder it gets, but the more intense the cravings become to go back. Because we'll get into that. I'll show you. So we are so accustomed to these cycles that we go back to what's safe. Just because it's safe doesn't mean it's good or bad, though. Right? But more often than not, just because it's safe doesn't mean it's good either. Remember, the universe doesn't label or negate energetic signatures. So just because it's safe, same way, the universe doesn't negate, your subconscious doesn't negate either. Right? That's why I was saying we are tied to a source, because your subconscious acts the same way the universe does. It does not negate, does not label. It is just is. Safe just means your old identities. What might feel safe to one person might be terrifying to another, right? Super subjective, super relative. Especially if their past experiences have taught them to associate safety with certain people, emotions, states, and places, and whatnot. So if you grew up with chaos and seeing chaotic relationships, parents, family, friends, you will subconsciously seek chaotic relationships and people to help you feel safe, right? You're going to seek toxic relationships, and you've seen it over and over again. People like go into a healthy relationship, they don't know what that looks like, and they get scared and they go back to toxic ex. So that's just one of many examples, but I hope that makes sense so far. If anyone has any questions, by the way, drop them in the chat and I'll answer them if anything comes up while we're going through this. What? Oh, this is a journal prompt. So take out your little journals or write it in your phone, either way. Or take a screenshot. What does safety mean to you? What is your familiar? Does your subconscious mind associate safety with healthy boundaries, peace, abundance, enlightenment? Or, here's the journal, how does your past influence your current perception of safety? What people, places, emotions, actions, behaviors come up when you're trying to make the change? Oh, I'll go back. Take a screenshot if you need. Let me go back. There we go. I'll let everyone take a screenshot, 30 seconds or so. This will be your homework, because there is real homework at the very end of this. So I'm going to make sure everyone does it, because shit's deep. Okay, let's move on. Or write it down, either way. So if you came to last mindset call with Ash, we talked about this. Funny how it all kind of ties together. So the energetic frequency chart. If you haven't watched that call, I'm going to put it up. I'm waiting for her to send it to me, and I'll put it up. But all the other calls are up. So shame leads to separation. If we look at this chart, where is shame? The very bottom, right? The lowest of frequencies. So we clearly see shame and guilt as low frequency states. That can be your safety. Feeling shameful for certain things that you do, or certain behaviors, certain actions, whatever, that can be your safety, because that's how you were taught as a child or growing up. So here's your question. Do you often, you can take a screenshot of this too, do you often internally or externally speak your frustrations about yourself for making the same mistake over and over? I'm such a dickhead for doing that. I shouldn't have done that fucking mistake. What a dumbass of me. I'm such a piece of shit. Blah blah blah. Right? Negative self-talk. I'm sure. Or just internally you say that. You feel super guilty or shameful for doing something. So imagine this. How do you feel when you see an adult or a parent being an asshole to their kid for making a repeated mistake and not offering any direction or solution to teach the kid to do better? How do you see that parent? I'm kind of curious. Just drop it in the chat. You see them as like, oh, that's normal, or oh, they're an asshole, or oh, they're just being a parent.
I try to look at both sides of the coin. So from the kid's perspective and from the parents, if the kid is acting out, but there's no discipline coming from the parent, then it's a parent not setting an expectation.
Yeah, absolutely. Expectations. Okay. So it's on both ends. Definitely does some damage. Okay. So there's both ends. Okay. Let's just make an assumption that the kid was just, acting out, and they usually don't act out, but the parent just is becoming more of an asshole, doing it in public. But more often,
then I would think it's the parent. I agree with you. At that point, it's the parent because, if a kid is 3 years old, they're only going to act their age, so to speak.
Correct.
And at 3 years old, the kid's going to be a maniac, or a kid might run around. They've got a lot of energy. So
correct.
At that point, it's the parent's fault. I agree.
Correct. So parents set the standard. So if the parents set the standard and they're acting like an asshole, then the kid's gonna act like an asshole. So, but more often than not, we think that the parent's an asshole, right? So if they're just, if they're being dickheads to their kid, they're being an asshole. So what this basically means is if you repeatedly internally or externally speak about your frustrations about yourself for making the same mistake over and over again, then what's going to happen is you're being an asshole to yourself, right? This reinforces shame to your subconscious, your inner child, and your identities. You're just repeating the same cycles that you learned because the subconscious does not negate. All these identities are operating within the same purpose now because you're reinforcing shame, right? So now you're reinforcing this low frequency state because that's all you know. And that's rough. And shame leads to separation. And the reason I say that is because the purpose of all of this is to keep you safe by making you feel shame, guilt, victimhood, etc. And shame creates a breeding ground for lack, guilt, depression, anxiety, scarcity, and separation from yourself. So I say shame creates a breeding ground because if you think about this, I was thinking about this frequency chart as like a garden, right? You can also think of your subconscious as a garden. The garden doesn't care what kind of seed it is. If it's a weed, if it's a poisonous weed, it doesn't care. Or if it's a beautiful apple tree, it doesn't matter. It's going to grow. So whatever you feed your subconscious, that's what's going to grow. And especially whenever you teach subconsciously to your child or to friends, family, whoever, and keep reinforcing those actions, those behaviors, that's what's going to show up in your life as well. So bringing more awareness to this is very important. So shame leads to separation. Follow along here. Separation leads to isolation. Well, now you feel shamed. So you isolate. You don't reach out for help. You don't lean on community or support. Oh, no one feels this way. I don't know. I feel like they're going to, judge me for X, Y, Z. So you believe everyone's going to see you as you see yourself. And we don't. More often than not, we don't. This community doesn't have any judgment for anyone. Everyone goes through very similar things. And then you go into solitude thinking, I need to do this alone. It's the only way. No one can help me with my specific situation. I'm a special unicorn. No one's ever felt this way. No one can help me. You now become a victim of your own mind. So this is just a preface. Our community, this community, is becoming more filled and is now filled, has been filled with amazing and incredible people with incredibly hard paths. Every single one of you. All have gone through some hard shit. Everyone. Some are working through it. Others are not ready. And most are still healing from the last phase because we are always going to be healing. This part is fucking hard, but it should also bring you some peace because there's no final destination. There's no fucking point B. You're going to be doing this for most of your life if you're here for self-development. So welcome to self-development. So this is what you got yourself into. It's fun. It's fun here. Consciousness is fun. Once you learn consciousness, it's hard to go back. This is your time to lean into support, to community, to vulnerability, to keep solitude as far away from you as possible, right? Solitude, I mean more isolation. I try to replace solitude every now and then, but I didn't get the chance to see all the words. Solitude, for me, sometimes mean like a positive meaning. Isolation is more of a negative meaning, but they kind of mean the same thing. You're isolating yourself from certain things, people. This is your permission to reach out to the community when you need support so that your brothers and sisters that have all been where you have been and help you walk this path. We are here to walk it with you. Everyone, I say this all the time. There are people in here that have gone through similar experiences, have felt the same thing that you are feeling at the core, at the root, but just different circumstances, right? There's a scale, there's a spectrum, and everyone's different on that scale, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So this is your permission. We are here for the same purpose, to heal and walk this path for self-growth. Welcome to self-development. You're in here for a reason. Isolation is business. So far we have shame creates separation, right? I can't press back. Never mind. Shame creates separation. Separation creates isolation. Now isolation is business. What does that mean? The cycle is just not yours. This cycle is not just yours. It is here to make the rich richer. The meds, the pharma, the surgeries, the social media, hell, even random people you compare yourself to. It's all a program for you to say, hey, or for the program to say, hey, you're not enough. So if you're alone, anxious, scared, broke, sad, or have no support with XYZ, take this. It'll solve all your problems. Because we have the diet pills. You have to have the diet pills. You have to have the nicest clothes. Women need makeup to be accepted in some cultures. Men never need to show emotion, so we take more testosterone to suppress it. The gear boom is what I like to call it because I've been seeing kids everywhere. So, and then you need to go viral on social to be validated. You need likes, you need comments, otherwise no one cares about you. It's all a program. Why? It's all here to make you believe that you need something outside of you to help you become you. There's several question marks after this for a reason. It's like, that doesn't fucking make sense. You don't need any of that. You become addicted to not just your internal cycle, your identities that we talked about, but the external one too. So there's several layers to this shit. The stimulants, the depressants, the drugs, the processed sugars, the processed anything, marketing, social media, it's all a crutch to keep you unconscious with no energy to look inside yourself and dig deep. If we can numb them, they won't have a chance to become more conscious and actually become who they're really meant to be. And then we won't make money. That's the point. Not unvalidating if you have real problems. But more often than not, it still requires digging and pulling back layers. Whether you have medication or not, pulling back layers and getting deeper is still your responsibility, not using them as a crutch. You can't create abundance or enlightenment or joy or peace or healthy solitude by numbing and staying unconscious in your habits and your old identities. So let me go back to this frequency chart really quick. There we go. We can see at the top, enlightenment, peace, joy, love, reason, acceptance, willingness. That's all at the top here. Right? You hear it so fucking often. I'm crippled with anxiety and shame and apathy and grief and fear. I'm crippled with this shit. I don't know how to get out of it. You're in freeze mode. But when have you ever heard someone say, I'm crippled with joy and peace and enlightenment. I feel so good right now. Why? It's a choice, right? This cycle. People are choosing to be crippled by that. And we'll get into that right now. So if you can choose to be crippled by pain and anxiety and depression and all the things, why can't you be crippled by joy and love and peace and enlightenment? Odd, huh? Patterns with power. So we got shame creates separation. Shame creates isolation. Isolation creates business. Okay. So if we go to the root, it starts with shame. It doesn't start with business. No one's fucking, we can't take down the business. No one's telling you to boycott. Shame is the pattern. It starts with you. Like we mentioned, you're in a vicious cycle of craving, shame, anxiety, and scarcity. Patterns need energy to be upheld, meaning you are giving power to the very thing that is keeping you in the cycle. How do we take our power back? What do you think I'm going to say here? Drop it in the chat. I probably said it to a couple of you, but I want to see what you guys say. Use your big brains here. And if you're new here, then you can guess, or you don't have to say anything. It's up to you. Learn to accept what we're ashamed of. Okay, that's good. That's good. I like that. That's good, Dylan. What else? Anyone else have any answers? If you need energy and you're giving energy to the pattern, how do we take our power back? You're giving power to the pattern. I think I see Christian typing. Drop it in the chat, guys. I'm very patient, very demure. Understand and damn. Okay, Christian said, understand and identify what you can change and what you cannot, and determine what the steps ahead are so you can plan out your success and potential pitfalls on your own road to discovery. I love that. I love that. That's very detailed. That's perfect. Okay, understand and identify what you can change and what you cannot. Okay, and then make the plan your success. Okay, cool. Well, here's what I was gonna say. It's very simple. You probably overthink it, but these are really good answers too. These are acceptable. Presence. Presence. Why? Well, we'll get into that. Staying present. Staying grateful. Because presence is power. Presence is gratitude. Presence brings you joy, enlightenment, and abundance. When you're here in the now, you don't have to fucking think about what's going on in the past or in the future, or you're just focusing on being and not giving power to the cycle, and you're just watching what's going on in your head. That presence is invaluable. So let's talk about which identity holds your power. Trauma is trauma. It's all subjective, right? If a child gets their lollipop stolen, experience the same trauma as someone who sees death in front of them, right? It's all subjective. It's all a spectrum. The scale and intensity is different, of course, but the body experiences it the same. It will still feel unregulated in your nervous system. Why? I keep getting ahead of myself. Your body and your mind will create beliefs, identities, and versions of you that hold your power from being in the present. That's what I meant. That was a typo. From being in the present, right? So when you create these identities based on the beliefs, the identities, and all the shame and the trauma, those identities are holding your power. So we're here to identify that. And we're here to make a plan. So an example would be like, you were held to high standards that you couldn't meet in school, so you were called dumb, criticized, requiring perfectionism, or trying to feel approved by your parents. Or you were a caregiver at a younger age, right? Mom didn't really care much, so you were giving your sisters and brothers more attention, and you were the parent. Or you're experiencing betrayal or dishonesty. This can create an identity of future scarcity obsession, where you're focused on the future in that trauma moment to meet that certain standard, right? If you're held to high standards, you're focused on how well you will do in the future, how well you will accomplish something, how much this person's going to think of you by the time it's done. And if it doesn't meet their standard, you're never, or if you're always thinking about that, you're never in the present. You're always thinking about, if I don't do this part, then they're going to then you're not here. You're not where your feet are. Now you have the control freak identity. So this created the identity of future, well, not the identity of future scarcity obsession, but it just created future scarcity obsession, which I'll talk about as well. But the identity is the control freak identity. And everything needs to be done your way or it isn't right. Right? You have to meet the standard or else it isn't right. If you're the caregiver, I have to do it this way and parent the children this way, or everyone has to be doing it this way, or else it's not right. And then everything's going to hell. Or if you experience betrayal or dishonesty, it has to be done this way, or else I'm going to get betrayed again. I have that. I'm still working on it. Control certain parts of my life. Okay. So you're not alone. Or do people hold your power? When you see a person's name pop up on your phone, does your heart pound, or do your fists start to clench? When you think about someone from your past or present, does your nervous system feel dysregulated or on edge? When we experience this dysregulation from hearing and seeing another person's name, face, memorabilia, whatever, this person has your power. Whether it's mom, dad, family, whoever, friend, ex, they are in full control of your mind. They are driving. They are in full control of your mind and your nervous system. Sorry. So full control of your mind and nervous system, and ultimately the identities you created. We're getting deep here, so try and follow along, okay? I throw in some I come up with this shit on the spot. It's not their fault though. We must take responsibility, okay? It's no one's fault, because what? Blame is victimhood. If you blame someone, your four fingers are pointing right back at you. Victimhood mindset, right? So follow along here. Identity butterfly effect. I hope you guys have watched Butterfly Effect. If you have not, please go watch it. It's the best fucking movie in the world. It's really old. I forget the actor. What's his name? Beautiful man. Let me see. What's his movie? What's his name? He's so popular. Ashton Kutcher. There we go. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So Ashton in his young days. So watch it. Anyway, let's go back. So journal prompt. Take a screenshot. There we go. Dylan said it. I can't remember. I suck at celebrities' names. Journal. Do you need somebody who hurt you to give you closure for them hurting you? Or do you want? Either way, it doesn't matter. If you are requiring, need, or want someone who hurt you to give you closure for them hurting you. Because if you need their acknowledgement to validate your own pain, we're experiencing the identity that you're giving power to. Was your experience of that pain not enough to prove it to you, though? Like, the pain isn't enough validation to prove that it hurts? Or do you need them to say that, hey, I hurt you? Like, you already know. It's not going to change it. More often than not. This is lack. What is lack? It is without. When you are lacking something without, something outside of you. You don't need, like I said earlier, you don't need medication, stimulants, depressants, all that. That is, you're lacking something inside of you because you're looking for something outside of yourself. So this is for people. But this person, you don't need this person to show you, I need you to validate me so I can go back and experience this familiar cycle again and feel worthy. You truly don't need that. If you feel like you crave that or want that, that person's holding your power. It's not them you need validation from. You need it from yourself. From the identity you created out of that experience. Christian said, closure begins with accepting and acknowledging that it happened and processing the emotions in such a way that you gain the perspective and insight. This will help you build coping skills and ultimately emotional intelligence. I love that, man. This is really good. You are being super detailed today. This is good. Closure begins with acceptance and acknowledgement. Yes, that it happened. And then processing the emotions. Perfect. Yes. So this is very much the same thing, but this is why I call it the butterfly effect. Okay. So I'm thinking of all these experiences and all the identities that are being created out of those experiences is butterfly effect, right? Every experience is a pocket of time, which has key moments. You've watched the multiverse of Marvel, and if you don't believe in the multiverse, then I don't know what you're believing in. But if that moment were altered, we get a completely different reality, completely different identity, different beliefs, all of it. You've seen Spider-Man multiverse, same thing. But this is with your identities and your trauma. Okay. So, new levels, new devils. If you're facing your identities is part of healing. Your demons are part of you. We aren't here to fight them. You need to befriend them. Those identities, if you're labeling them as demons, you're already losing. You don't have demons. You made bad decisions and you're coping with the karma of those decisions. Your demons are your friends. They're going to be with you for your entire life. That should bring you some solitude. After all, your demons are going to be with you forever. I get ahead of myself. Might as well be friends with them because even Satan was an angel once. Right? He was friends with all the other angels. I'm not religious, super religious at least, but I have a relationship with God regardless. Remove the labels and you'll find the layers and identities that you're looking for. Christian said, keep your friends close and your enemies, demons closer. Yes, exactly. Let's go. Yes, absolutely. It took years to get into this undesired and unconscious place that you were in before you joined the program, before you started your fitness journey, your health journey, whatever journey. It took years, right? Compound effect. Compounding years of eating shit food, bad habits, shitty mindsets, unhealthy coping mechanisms. Now that we're here to reverse it, it can take just as long as it did to end up here. 3 years to get fat, 3 years to undo it. But the good news is you have support, awareness, community to peel back these layers so you can fully see yourself, which accelerates the process. I've seen it. You're in this program because you learn from my mistakes. You learn from everyone in the community's mistakes. That way you don't have to make the same mistakes and you become more conscious in the decisions that you make. So that's why we have plans. But it allows you to see yourself fully, right? You weren't seeing yourself when you were doing all this. You were just suppressing, numbing, labeling, coping, all those things. But what's the problem with fully seeing yourself? That's scary. Being fully seen means accepting rejection. Why? People think if I show up, there's a lot of fear about showing up as authentically yourself, whether it's on social media, whether with your friends, whether with your parents. being fully yourself is scary to a lot of people, because if I show up as myself and they judge me, then they actually hate me, not the fake ass version of me that I created, all these identities that I have created. So you have to find yourself, but that requires peeling back layers. So what does your subconscious do? It brings back old habits to test you, sends out small energetic signatures of scarcity, lack, shame, guilt, fear, right? The first time that you try and be authentically you and you get like your nervous system gets unregulated, or you try and show someone, or you're talking to someone and you feel like they're judging you, or maybe the whole situation goes like it flips 180, that's a test. That was one test. There's going to be thousands and thousands. And the more you do it, the more you find out these layers. That's why it says new levels, new devils. You can't get to the next level. You can't get to the next level in the fucking game if you don't beat the first boss. And you're in your own game. So here's a journal prompt. Take a screenshot. Very important. Who am I without this trauma? Who am I without the pattern of scarcity, lack, shame, guilt, fear? Take a screenshot. I want you guys to journal on this. So far, we have 3 journal prompts, and then there's going to be a really, really big one at the bottom, at the end. That's why I said if you're not ready for this, you can watch the recording. You have full permission to log off. Okay, cool. Screenshots, write it down however you want. Oh, one more. Sorry. What would my life look like without it? How would I feel? Take a screenshot. What would my life look without it? How would I feel? Would I feel abundance and enlightenment and joy and peace and solitude? Or would I feel just more of the same? Or would it not matter? I don't know. Like, just ask yourself. Cool. Identify the stories. Trauma is a rite of passage, right? Like I said, everyone in here has gone through it. You must experience the dark to understand light. You must experience depression to experience joy. It is our responsibility to process trauma before it becomes trauma, right? Ash has said it in the past. There's little t trauma, this trauma, and big T trauma, right? The way that this big T trauma comes about is by processing things as they come up, like Christian said, by having that plan and processing as things come up before you suppress it, repress it, cope, have shitty mindsets, and go back into old habits. Processing it means you have to become more conscious, and that's why you're here. The stories you have created from your experiences and your trauma are created out of unconscious programming, right? So we already know this. Now that you're becoming more aware, it is your responsibility to stop reading the fucking book that is your life, pick up the pen, and start writing it. You've been reading it this whole time, experiencing it. Life is just happening to you. No, you create the life that you desire. You create the reality you desire. This is you. This is your chance. Remember from the detachment call, if you haven't watched it, please watch it. I'll send the link later in the chat, or it's in the YouTube link or in the YouTube playlist. From the detachment call, our voices and words are power, and reinforce our subconscious beliefs about ourselves, right? Like I said in the detachment call, our voices and words carry frequency, which create energy and reinforce our subconscious. Like I said, you're internally or externally speaking frustrations out to yourself, you're reinforcing that identity with the parent situation, right? Choose your inner words wisely and create the stories you wish to live. Here's your rite of passage. Okay, be ready. I want you guys to take a full screenshot. Wait for me to get through the whole thing, or you can take notes. This is okay. I want to preface this by saying I want everyone to do this if you are truly ready. If you are not ready for it, that's okay too. But I want to challenge you to doing this because this homework is hard. I've done it 3 times and I break down every single time. So if you're not ready for that, that's fine. Let me read Christian's comment before we get into it. Introspection is one way to discover the root cause and decisions made in that moment. Understanding why the comfort zone is a negative and begin to evaluate the situation from a point of detachment. Okay, because you start from a more positive point from the separation, which is a low frequency starting point. Being yourself requires a degree of genuineness and intentionality. Yes, yes, yes. Detaching, like you just said, this is really good. This is really good. Yes, because when you detach, you find a new frequency. And when you find that new frequency, it can be lower or higher than where you were from. But if it's lower, that means you can boomerang back up into a higher frequency. And yeah, this is good. That's really deep. Okay, so let's get into this. Take a screenshot. Let's get into it. I want you to identify a person that has your power. It can be a parent, your friend, your ex, stranger, abuser, whatever. Or it can be a experience that has your power, whichever it is. Or if the person is you, because I've written it to myself several times, it can be you. I want you to go to a quiet place, sit down, and take 5 minutes to breathe. 6 seconds in, 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. We need to be grounded for this. Take however long you need to ground yourself. Take however long you need. It's 10 minutes, it's 15 minutes. If you need to do breath work before, go for it. Now, go back to that exact moment where the trauma happened to you. Visualize it clearly and notice your nervous system. Notice how your nervous system is feeling, okay? What is that version of you experiencing? What do you see, hear, feel? All of it. Just visualize it. You're not writing anything down, you're just feeling, you're just embracing. If it's fear, let it overcome you, okay? Once you're tapped into that version of you, bring them back into the present moment and allow them to drive for this next part. By driving, they are here now, okay? You're bringing them back consciously. You are going to let them take the pen and paper from you and write a letter to the person that has your power, okay? You, as of right now, like you, that's not the person, that the older version of you, as you are right now, are not going to judge or persuade the past version of you to write things that are not on the timeline. Just fully be authentic, let it all out. They are writing as they experience the trauma. If they are angry and they're pounding their paper into the pen into the paper, or if they want to yell, let them yell. That's why you need to be into a quiet place, ground. Once the letter is done, you're going to end it with, I'm sorry, and I forgive you, at the bottom of the paper, okay? You will then go to the bathroom, follow along here. You will then go to the bathroom or a room with a mirror, whichever, and read the letter out loud to yourself, okay? Read it out loud as your present self. Bring yourself back, right? Once you're done writing the letter, once you write, I'm sorry and I forgive you, you bring yourself back. Now you're reading this out as you. You're only letting the old version of you drive for the writing portion, okay? When you have finished reading, you're going to stare into your right eye for 2 minutes, unbroken. 2 straight minutes, unbroken. If you start seeing weird shit if you see new faces, if you see faces that are not even yours, if you're hallucinating, that's okay. That's part of the process. Whenever the time feels right, you will say, I love you and I forgive you. Well, you guys, if you're not ready for this, you don't have to do it, but I want to challenge you to doing it. And we'll talk about it on our calls. You're then going to take that letter and you're going to burn it. And then go to bed. So do this at evening, nighttime. Not in the morning, right? When you go to work. Fuck that. Evening, nighttime when you have decompressed. And then I want you to journal in your dreams the next morning. Voice memo, journal, whatever. Hope you guys are ready. I can show. Oh, I was gonna put pictures. That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna put pictures of the letter that I wrote. Because when I wrote my letter, and I picked up the burning pieces in the sink, I saw the only piece that was legible was Michael, I love you, and it was like 3 lines of it on the piece of paper, burnt edges and everything. I have the fucking picture somewhere in my phone. I've seen it. I know where it's at. I just didn't put it in here. My bad. But I've done this. Very, very healing, very necessary, but also very challenging. So take the time to do it. Christian, you don't have to do it now. But
easier to get it over with. I was already in a good frame of mind.
No, do it with intentionality, brother. There's like a whole.
It is intentional. That's how I'm intentional, man. I don't wait.
Okay.
If you go in the moment.
Yeah, do it now then. Do it.
Yeah,
now.
I take that energy and go for it now.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
You're welcome to read it out. I don't know if it's going to be of any help, but at the very least, kind of lend some perspective.
Sure. Letter to me. I'm the master of my domain. I steer this ship in the direction I want to head in. Each experience makes me and the ship I sail on to become stronger and more resistant to the storm you're navigating. My past version is part of my past and remains there, but it is no longer of value and things behind me and what's ahead of me. Utilize your experience to develop coping skills. Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of critique, brother. This doesn't sound like you're tapped into the version of you. It sounds like you are you now, and it just sounds there's no experience here, if that makes sense. Like you're talking about your life and your past experiences, but I want you to just choose it's either a moment in time, but also a phase in your life or a season in your life where this identity has your power. I'm not identifying an identity here. You're just saying a past version of you is part of you and it remains there because it is no longer value. Like I said, your identities, your old versions of you, your demons, they are of value. They're your best friends. And more often than not, those older versions of you, since you've labeled them demons, you're afraid of them. That's why we're bringing them up to the surface so you understand, like, hey, you're not really that. You're just hurt. That version of you is just hurt and scared because they've been, like I said, with the parent situation, right? If the parent is just fucking slamming the kid for doing the same mistake over and over again and not offering any solution, the kid is just going to be scared and lost, which is what labeling and reinforcing subconscious patterns does. And if you don't bring up that version, that inner child basically from you, it's going to be just isolated, right? It's not going to want to come out. So that's why this homework is like, you really need to sit and think about that experience and that version of you. Yeah. And you know what I'll do? I'm going to put this in the Slack. I'm going to put my letter in the Slack. I'm going to be super vulnerable and show you guys what I wrote. Okay. The first time that I did this, because this shit was hard. It should feel hard. Like, sorry. It should feel hard. If that felt easy, then it wasn't worth it. Right? Like, yeah, I want you to just follow this intentionally. And if nothing comes up the first time, that's okay. But I've done it like 3 times. So just making sure that you address the person or identity that holds your power right now is all we're looking for. Does that make sense? Cool. I'll find the picture. But yeah, guys, take a screenshot. I'm gonna post it in Slack, maybe in the chat as well, because it's just us. So that way you guys know what I've written. And I'll show you the picture somewhere here. But it's in my favorites. But I'll stop sharing. Does anyone have any questions about anything that I've talked about? Because I know this was a lot. And I might have opened up a can of worms for some people. And some people understand the assignment and some are not ready. So that's why I was saying you guys have full permission to like hop off, because this can be a deep call if you haven't been on my calls, as of late at least. We jump around from training to mindset. We haven't done nutrition yet, but yeah. And if you want more, not information, a better understanding, I'll send you the detachment call that we did on YouTube. So that way, moving forward, you know how to process what comes up. Is this the letter? Nope. Fuck. I was almost there. But does anyone have any questions? Anyone want to come off mute for any reflections or anything?
Mike,
Yo, brother.
so if we do this, like I'm thinking about it and I'm like, am I supposed to just set myself into any specific, like just any specific season where I feel like I develop some trauma from?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So any specific, yeah, like you said, season that it's going to from you what you went. It's not the specific trauma that I'm looking for. It's whatever you think that is holding your power from being you. Whatever's holding your power from being present. Whoever is holding your power from being present. If it's a person or if it's an experience, either way. Or if it's like a season, like I said, because we have the seasons of life where we rely on coping mechanisms, like I mentioned, with medication, suppressants, antidepressants, or suppressants, all the things external of us, where we went through a season of coping with that, or we use people as the same way. So it's either a thing, an experience, or a person. For me, it's more often, it can be a mixture of things. Like it can be both at the same time, truly. I found it. Yeah, I found it. All right, solid, amazing. I'm gonna put it. Where's Slack? Do you have any questions, brother? David?
Bro, that was mostly it. I was just trying to think of like, so when I do it, like what place would I put myself in? Because I'm not trying to think of like where do I feel like I developed trauma, but I couldn't think of anything specific. But now I'm thinking now I have a couple places I can visit.
I'm glad. There we go. Go to those places, experience it, relive it, get deep. And if you guys can't meditate and ground, because that's obviously really important to like visualize everything, let me know and I'll send you some breath work, because for me, breath work always calms the mind, which allows me to enter meditation. Not just like if you're already fucking feeling on edge, then just going into a meditation from the get-go doesn't work sometimes. You know, you have a lot of noise in your head. So I just put the pictures in the chat if you guys want to look in at least the Slack. You guys can fully read it, full vulnerability here. So show the pictures where I burnt it and everything. I did it on holy fuck, I did it. It was the day after my birthday. That's funny. I dated it. Damn. I can relive that too. Maybe I'll do it with you guys. Bring some leadership into this. So yeah, guys. Thank you guys for coming. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If you guys want to ask me personally, or any questions about the call, because I know it was fucking packed. And if you guys need more support, like I said, this is your permission to lean into community. So, but yeah, we made it right on time. Let me know, guys. Wow. Let me know if you guys need anything. Cool. All right, guys. Have a great Sunday. And I hope to see you guys later. Do your check-ins too as well, but also do this homework first. Bye, guys. I love you. Bye.